Radcast News. Hey guys, Ryan Alford, your host of the Radcast.
You're listening to the Radcast.
If it's radical, we cover it. Here's Ryan and Riley.
Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Ryan Alford. Welcome to the latest episode of the Radcast. We're in the middle of our e-commerce series. It's been going really well. We've had some fascinating guests, and we've got a fast-growing company that I'm excited to be talking to, Sanjay Jenkins, who's the director of e-commerce with Buff City Soaps. Sanjay, great to have you on the Radcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Great. Well, hey man, you're the director of e-commerce. We talked a little bit pre-episode of the growing role that you have. We'll talk about that as we get into the episode, but maybe let's just go right at it. Let's talk about Sanjay. Let's talk about your background, and
Sure.
then we'll dig into specifics on Buff City, but maybe just start there, man.
Yeah, I'll give you the brief. I grew up in Missouri. I'm a Missouri boy, small town, big nerd. It's just love learning about stuff. I got into e-commerce about 7 years ago, and I started a BarkBox clone. So it was like right when the subscription box boom started to happen. Saw BarkBox was taking off, thought I'd do the same. Just started it was a class project in college. It was like my senior year project, and we made 5 figures a month doing it from a revenue perspective. But that was like my first lesson in like profitability and just the complexity of operations, because we made no money from a profit standpoint. It was for every box that we sent to a customer, we sent one to an animal shelter, kind of trying to do the Tom's 1-to-1 there.
Oh, yeah.
But there was so many, like, we just did not plan out the costs associated with shipping and like actually letting the customer choose where to send it to versus us making those like donations in bulk. So we ended up graduating college. We rolled that, like actually handed that off as a project for students in the entrepreneurship program at the University of Arkansas to run, which is where I went to college. And I just worked in e-commerce in a variety of places. I worked at an architecture and engineering consulting firm, which is a very specific thing. And they sold digital products. So they had information books about what the salaries were supposed to be for your architects and your project managers who were, civil engineering background project managers, like very interesting, very niche there. From there, I worked. And so the thing that I learned there, one of the cool things about how my career has progressed thus far is that at each job, like there's one skill that I really like got to go deep on. At that company was email marketing. So I was not familiar with email marketing at all at that point. I grew up in the age of social media being like the number one thing. And that was always the focus, particularly on the organic side. So I was like, okay, email marketing, do people actually open this? And just seeing the power of it. So, learning I became a power user of Klaviyo in like 2 weeks. And, we ran about 7 figures through the pipe just on email. At that business. From there, I worked at a e-commerce platform startup, which is an interesting experience. It's basically a competitor to Shopify Plus, really enterprise level software. And the thesis of that business was, Shopify's got this entire ecosystem of apps and all these features. Like, what happens if we consolidate everything and then build like a true enterprise software in that space? So I was the 7th employee. I was the first sales hire. I was an SDR there. I started as an SDR. As I went along, I learned 2 major skills at that business. The first was selling. Like I became like a proficient seller from SDR to close. And then the number 2 thing that actually became kind of like the cornerstone of my career since that moment was media buying. So I went deep on media buying. And as that kind of company progressed, and I kind of realized like, it's probably not going to work out for me here long term. We actually launched an email marketing tool, basically like a MailChimp Lite, which MailChimp is by itself a pretty lightweight product. So it's something even less robust, very simple product. But we got like we went from zero to about $100,000 in ARR in like a week, like about a week and a half, through media buying. I literally recorded the ads in front of a camera, edited the videos, bought the ads myself, like full end to end, built the landing page, the whole thing. So that was a really cool experience. Realized that, you know, I can make a little bit of a career out of media buying and just doing agency work now that I have the email marketing skills. A buddy who worked at the company, that startup, we left and we started our agency. Ran the agency for a little bit, just working with e-commerce folks. So that's our bread and butter. What was interesting about that little experience was we were in Northwest Arkansas. So that's predominantly Walmart, JB Hunt, and Tyson. And really, if you're in an agency world, the money is in servicing Walmart. We didn't do any of that. We worked with companies that didn't sell into Walmart.com or didn't sell into Walmart at all. So we're always kind of like the odd man out. And I was trying to figure out, like, what's the next path? Do I go start, like, the bag was very clearly in servicing these Walmart clients, you know, 6, 7, 8 figure contracts. No one really understood direct to consumer the way, you know, we did at the time in Northwest Arkansas. And so I was trying to figure out, like, what to do. And then someone that I met a couple years prior, his name's Justin Delaney, CEO of Buff City. He hit me up on Instagram. He DM'd me. He was like, "Hey man, like, I've got something I want to talk to you about." I met Justin 2 years ago, or yeah, it's 2 years ago now, at a pitch competition at the University of Arkansas. It's like one of those like 60-second business idea pitches. I won the contest. He was one of the judges. We talked about shoes for 30 minutes. He was wearing Yeezys. He's got one of the greatest Yeezy collections I've ever seen. I think he has like literally every pair. And we talked about that, and we kept in touch for 2 years over Instagram DMs about shoes. And we have like a great love of cars, and like particularly Porsches and Lamborghinis. So that's what we talked about for 2 years. And then he's kind of out of the blue. I didn't realize it. He was actually following what I was doing in my career and hit me up about the job of running e-commerce for Buff City, which I started back in January. What that looked like was replatforming off of WooCommerce, putting us on Shopify, building out the tech stack, and just starting to scale this business from, you know, just like the really basic direct-to-consumer stuff, getting our Facebook and Google ads running correctly, you know, just like the really, really it's honestly like simple at this point. Maybe it's, when you do it, I guess it's pretty complicated. And then in addition to that, I've been doing support for digital marketing for the entire Buff City system. So we are, just to kind of give some context on Buff City, we are a primarily physical retail soap company. Everything that you see in a store is really made in the store that you're seeing it in. And our physical retail footprint growth happens through franchising. So we're a franchise business. It's a really interesting model. I run e-commerce, which is kind of owned from the central franchisor entity, and have to work really closely with franchisees. There's a lot of intricate stuff there in terms of one, just trying to build an omni-channel experience for the customer, making it seamless, but two, on the back end, making sure that, you know, franchisees don't feel like this is corporate competition, but actually like building a system long term that will actually give them credit. Or, I mean, it's the goal, the dream is that we can build a system where we can credit them for e-commerce sales that occur in their territories or customers that are in their database. So we're trying to figure out how to execute that at scale. And then recently, as I was telling you about pre-show, I like literally last week, I took over the production facility that we have. So it's basically one big soap makery. We're running, you know, very similar processes that we do in the stores to make all of our products. Our products are handmade daily. And I get to like, I did this Six Sigma internship a couple years ago at a shingle company. And I was like I went from fiberglass to the asphalt lines to like the finished shingle line, like diagramming all these things. I get to like deploy that kind of thinking, that experience into a facility that I control. And the cool thing there is, you know, from the moment a raw material, you know, the soap blend is made, it's poured into a mold, gets cut, to getting a customer to buy it online, and then shipping to them. Like I control that entire experience now. And having these controls, understanding the process just makes scale a lot easier to achieve in the long run. So that's the abridged version of my career.
A lot to unpack there, a lot of keywords. Your Klaviyo experience. We're a Klaviyo partner agency. We're a Shopify partner agency. I have to, like, I don't know, my mind just goes here. I could go about, I had like 10 things noted here, but I'm going to go here. So when you first come into Buff City, was it already decided, or did you make the decision to transfer from WooCommerce, which runs on WordPress,
Right.
and is their e-commerce engine? It's considered a legitimate e-commerce platform. Even I'm going to lead you to an answer that I hope it is, because as a Shopify agency that does both, but I'll show my hand a bit. I am curious, was that your decision, when a decision already made and you came in to help steer that, or what was the decision? You're moving from what is a relatively robust e-commerce platform.
Sure.
WooCommerce is not a lightweight. It's not like some clients that come to us around Squarespace e-commerce or something, I can understand that transition. Walk me through whose decision that was and why the decision was made.
So that was something that Justin, CEO, had kind of already decided upon.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like the verification step.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, if I'm going to run it, like I want to run on Shopify. All of the sites that I've been able to scale, we built on Shopify. Which is not to say that there aren't other e-commerce platforms. I think we'll evolve. We'll probably have a more custom solution as we grow the nature of the business that we're in. But for right now, Shopify is the platform. Like the thing about WooCommerce that scares me the most is that like when you have a product or you add a product to a cart, it creates this like phantom blog post. And that's how like WooCommerce on the back end actually like tracks these things. And just think about like the technical complexity of that system. Just you're trying to turn a blog tool into a shopping cart. Like it's scary as hell.
Yeah.
So I was so eager to get off of WooCommerce. It was a decision that had been made, and I'm glad that it wasn't hard to put the final stamp on that.
We've had a lot of clients come to us that, have been on, BigCommerce and other platforms that are seemingly, but nothing scales like Shopify does. I don't want this to necessarily be a Shopify commercial, but I'm in agreement. We use Klaviyo as well, and some of the integrations, and just they've kind of figured it out. And now Shopify Plus is the more commercial grade. As you grow, that's an opportunity. Or whether you custom code your own site, which makes sense at a certain point. So you own the full experience and don't feel like you're renting from Shopify.
Right, for sure.
Owned land versus rented land, another discussion to be had in the marketing space. But talk about what that transition's done and kind of just overall growth that you guys are happening. Maybe just give us some the landscape of where Buff City's at.
So I'll say I'll be delicate about this in the way I phrase this. We haven't hit Q4 yet. This is September 23rd, I think. In 29, since we have 10x the top line of 2019 so far this year, before hitting holiday, and we are very much one of the retailers where 40 to 60% of our revenue, maybe more, depending on how hard we can scale in the next few months, will come from Q4. So Shopify has been a tremendous tool. If we were still on WooCommerce, so like when COVID lockdown started happening across the country, a lot of our stores had to shut down. So we essentially, all of that store volume was processed through our store. If we were still running on WooCommerce, we would have had like a disaster. We had on April 1st, which was hilarious because it's like April Fool's Day, we had our biggest day yet. Single day was 3x what we did on Cyber Monday 2019, which is just insane. Just a really great preview of what's to come later this year. But if we were on WooCommerce, we would not have been able to support that. Even on just very simple things like customer service. So I run the customer service team. We are set up on Gorgeous. That's our customer service tool. The fact that our customer service team can we need to reship an order for some reason, or like they were missing a bar of stuff, but we can take care of things really quickly. That is just one of the great parts of Shopify, is that it's so well integrated with so many things. It's so easy to use, and it's so easy to train people on. If we probably when we move to a custom solution, I'm try to mimic as much as we can from like the Shopify experience, just because from the back end user perspective, it's pretty dialed in my opinion.
What's been the path to growth from a marketing perspective for Buff City? Maybe from a tactical standpoint, whether it's social media, which I'm sure is a big role, but
Right.
maybe what are some of those tactical paths that have seen and driven the growth for you guys?
Sure. So we launched our first ad, like true, like Facebook marketing, like advertising, on March 16th, I think. That's been a huge lever for us this year as we've scaled. So like top line customer acquisition stuff, Facebook advertising has been like the cornerstone of that. Within that, we're really big on text message marketing, and we use a tool called Voxy. They're based out of Atlanta. It's two-way communication. So we can do blasts, we can do behavior-based triggered text, like abandoned cart, for example. But we can also, like, customers can text us back, and my customer service team is plugged in to have two-way communication. So if the customer texts in, like, we'll send a blast on a weekend sale day and say, hey, like, we're doing a laundry sale, stock up on your laundry soap. Don't forget to add a dryer ball. And customers say like, hey, what's a dryer ball? Or like, what kind of scents do the dryer balls come in? Like, customer service team comes in and says X, Y, and Z. So that list has been, especially from like a conversion standpoint, it converts a lot higher at a higher rate than our email marketing list. But for both email marketing and the text message marketing, we've been doing pretty aggressive push, just like lead generation stuff, just to grow those lists. Because once we have them, obviously it's a lot cheaper than trying to pay the Zuck tax to acquire them again. So, Facebook advertising flowing into just like true direct response, and then also lead generation to build our email and text message lists. And we're very intentional about that. We've 20x our email list since I took over.
Yep, that's great. You gotta own the customer relationship, and that starts with email primarily. Is any other channels? So you've got the stores, you got e-com. Are you guys Amazon? Any other distribution? Is it 100% D2C?
It's D2C, and really the reason. So I'll put a little asterisk on that. The core Buff City business, from a customer perspective, is like, this is a place where I get soap. But for us, when we look at it as stewards of the brand, as executives of the company, like our like first customer is our franchisees. So Buff City's value is really derived by the number of stores we have, and so that's always the primary focus. Like, I have to like always say, the stores are more important than what I do online on e-commerce. And it's a very interesting, like, I've been a DTC guy since I started in e-commerce. So like having the knowledge that what I do supports a larger mission that's like nothing related to e-commerce really, has been an interesting shift in thinking. But like that's like the baseline is growing the franchise business is the most important thing. I'm sorry, like what else? There's a deeper part of the question.
Channels, like
the channels, right?
Franchisee based, obviously, which is actually, right. And I want to go down that path of the e-com franchisee share model. Like I want to hit that, but didn't know if there were plans in the works for other distribution points.
Right. So the reason why we don't do Amazon, we don't do wholesale, is because we're trying to grow the franchise footprint, like the store footprint. Yeah. So that is like our true like mechanic of growth and scale and distribution. I mean, that every time we open a store, like that's just more fuel for the e-com as well. It's just by nature of like franchisees spending money to grow marketing and people becoming aware of the brand, us spending marketing dollars on behalf of the franchisees, to grow awareness in new markets, things of that nature. We've got a vending machine that we're testing out, like all this crazy stuff that we do. The stores are the primary growth channel, which I think is, I think it's a unique
Contrary
experience.
to everything else that's going on in a COVID
Yeah.
world, if we
Right.
just want to call it what it is,
Yeah.
obviously you guys are generating success from it. We're going to talk about
Right.
some of that growth, but
Right.
you're at 40 plus stores. You've had a COVID world, still in a little bit of a COVID world where everything's moving online. You guys are growing online, but you guys see the growth through the stores and through that experience. So that's unique to you guys for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we're so lucky to be selling soap, like making and selling soap in a time when the world needs it.
Yeah.
And then for us, we feel this great sense of duty for people to provide people with, something that they need, but in a really delightful way. So our fragrances, our product forms, like the way you use them, like all of these things are designed to be delightful and pleasant and like spark joy in your life. Which is, it's a really great thing to like come in every day and like know like we're trying to make the world a little bit better place, from our supply chain, like all the good stuff that we're trying to do there, making sure we're not supporting any like man-made mica mines, like where our kids working, like we cut that kind of, we make sure we avoid all of that and we don't support those kinds of entities, and all the way to like the end customer experience where they receive it and they can like smell a bar, whether it's in store or online, and they receive a shipment. It's pretty, I feel like it's almost like a noble cause in that way.
Yep.
Of what we're doing. We're really lucky to be in this game right now. Like there's so many things, and it's a very jarring thing to say, I think, because like obviously the luck has not been evenly distributed across the ecosystem.
Right.
So we're trying to like grow as much as we can. Like it's gratifying to be able to provide people jobs in a time when it's really hard to get a job.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that we're really working for. Like for us, it's like we want to be stewards of growth, to be able to like provide opportunity in a time when it's really hard to access opportunity.
That's great. So you're at 40 plus stores this year and growing, and some significant growth plans for next year. Can you talk about that and back to that e-com share, which is pretty unique? How you guys are envisioning. A lot of times the stores see themselves as in competition with their corporate e-com site, right? You can buy online, then I sell less in store. But you guys are approaching it a little differently with your growth. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, primary growth metric is number of stores that are open. Our goal is to have 1,000 stores open in the United States alone by 2025. And that's just like, that's what we're doing. We will be a third of the way there or so, like that's the estimation right now, by the end of next year. So,
Aggressive.
Solid 2 years in, and like we've made some amazing progress. And it's just like, it just depends on how quickly we can get real estate approved and get stores set up.
Is
It's
it
really
100% franchise? 100% franchise?
It's not 100%. It's mostly, I think, probably like at scale, it'll be like 95-ish. I think, I don't remember the exact number, but it'll be primarily franchise.
Some company owned,
but so
primarily franchise.
Right. So our corporate stores right now, we've got some in Memphis, which is where the company was founded.
Yep.
We're opening 2 here in Dallas, which are our new headquarters, in the next couple of months, which will be really exciting. Some amazing flagship stores. And then our Denver market is also corporate right now. But everything else right now that we have is franchise owned.
And so, but the e-commerce side is being tailored to where franchisees will share in revenue that they're, say you come onto the site, and we're in Greenville, South Carolina. So let's say we have a store that opens in Greenville, hopefully soon. I think
it's like Q1 or Q2 of next year.
It's coming. So Buff City opens. I'm on my phone, I'm store locator and I'm here and I purchase, there's going to be some attribution back to the store, that e-com share.
So that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's one of those like 5-year infrastructure projects that we had.
I was about to say that seems like a long-term play. That's a very difficult play. On the we don't have to get too geeky on the technology side of that, but that's pretty high development stuff there.
Our CTO, his name's Brandon Powers. He is like a wizard, like a technology wizard. I wish I could have a tenth of his like brain power. So that was like when he came on earlier this year or at the beginning of the year, his 5-year vision was like to be able to build that model. We piloted it we tested it Throughout COVID. So when the stores shut down or like, it was kind of variable, we started doing rebates. So basically using the store customer database to cut like, checks to stores like, okay, this is like the customer was acquired at your store, order was processed online, you can't be open legally. So like, here's the money.
Yeah.
That allowed like some stores were able to continue to grow through it. I guess if they were able to do curbside.
Yep.
Other stores, they were from those checks at least able to pay rent, which is so critical. Like the fact that we were able to help these businesses stay upright and going in the right direction in a time when it was like very, very difficult for retail to exist at all.
Yeah.
Long term, so we're calling this program Ship from Store, which rolls in both the attribution model and as the name suggests, like the ability to ship from the store. So all of the products that we have can and are made in the stores. So we can turn those into like mini production and distribution centers. So in the future state that we're working to, we've built some way to attribute cleanly and reliably the sale to the store when it gets processed online. And then we haven't worked out any of the details on like what the percentages are and like how that's calculated yet. But in addition to that, like the same way that when you order like a pizza from Pizza Hut, your closest franchise Pizza Hut is the one delivering it. Like they're the ones making it and shipping it to you, or if they have like a delivery vehicle, for example, they'll deliver it to you. So that's the future state we're working on. That's probably when we leave like the Shopify ecosystem, go build a custom e-com setup that's really deeply tied to our store point of sale system, which is unified across the system.
Yep.
And that's like the core. And then from there, it's like layering on like loyalty, like a unified CRM. We can track lifetime value in store and online versus just like those two entities separately. Like that's where the stuff gets really crazy and really fun.
What are is there anything else on the marketing side that's been successful for you guys? I mean, influencers, have you gone that path?
Direct mail.
Hey, I love it. We actually just still do a lot of direct mail too. It's so funny. People have like given up on it. It's like still works. So
yeah, if you do it right. And for us, like we've done it both for the stores and online. And we basically just like have a kickback. It's like here's 20% off or $5 off laundry or a free bar of soap, that sort of thing. That's been really effective for us. And I think through the postal service, it's like 17 cents to send a postcard. Like it's super cheap. So that's been really effective. Influencer's been good. We haven't used that as aggressively as I would have liked from a sales growth, for example. We're doing a lot of work on the basically influencers doing parties with their followers in the stores, getting people in the stores. Again, that's like the primary thing that we want to support and grow is like all the stores that we have. We've got some influencers. Like I think the best channel that we've had influencer like effectiveness on in any sort of return has been TikTok. So we'll give influencers like a discount code for them to share with their followers. We'll send them a care package, and they'll post about it. Here's my code. We got some like it's 80-20 rule to the max. So we've got a ton of people who like onesie twosie sales here and there, and then we've got a few that are just like massive like returns, and they've got like 4,000 followers. It's not a crazy follower count. It's just that for us, like the local communities, like our model for the stores works well in 10,000, like populations of 10,000 people, and much more than that. We can support such a wide range of folks. So it's just cool to see like those micro influencers, as I guess they're
That's
called.
where it's at, the micro influencer.
Really crank. Yeah.
Sometimes we see it with campaigns we run, like a couple thousand, 3,000 followers, and they get the best results. You just need a bunch of them, and they're cheaper, so you can spread it out. Talk about who's your customer. Who is the? I mean, I know there's probably different, but who is the Buff City customer? Like, what's the profile?
So, I'll use the kind of some of the terminology that we have in our brand guidelines. She is, someone who is scent obsessed, and wants something that is good for her skin. Like just like conscious of that, like skin conscious, I think is the terminology there. The scent obsessed part is the really critical thing. We are a scent first brand. Our fragrances are amazing. Like we've got such a wide range of them too, and we can customize a lot of things. So it's really just people who care about the plant-based, like the natural ingredients that we use in our soaps and skincare products, but really like they're primarily motivated by fragrance. So we kind of overlap a lot of customers with Lush and Bath and Body Works. I think those are probably like the two best competitor proxies that we have. So yeah, it's just like from an age range, like it's so weird. I, from a client services perspective, hated talking to clients that said, "Oh, everyone's our customer." Like we don't have like one specific customer profile. We can splice and dice our customers in a variety of ways. We do. But there is a lot of evenness in the size of our customer demographics. Apart from like gender is probably like the most polarized one. I think it's 75-25 female to male. But our age range is, little kids all the way to 65 plus. Like we can hit that 13 plus on Snapchat when we run Snapchat ads and like still see a good return.
Hey, everybody needs some soap and to smell good,
Yeah. It's a very universal thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. So where's product development? Like that seems like that would be a huge one. Maybe we'll tie it up with that, like product development and where things, we've talked about it overall, but I dare say, I don't like to say end game, but where are we headed with all this overall for both you and the brand? And then, maybe touch on product development a little.
Sure. So I'll do product development, and then I'll do like the end game kind of stuff. So our CMO, his name's Chad Brizendine, who I love that guy. I really do. In his off time, he runs bourbon companies. Like he just had his like first bottle launch for his new bourbon company this week. He and our first soap makers, our founders of the company, Brad, Kellum, and Jen, they work together really well in coming up with new product categories that can still be manufactured within the store. So that's like the context that we always like to take things back to. But like really like the goal is like, how do we kind of P&G it and, kind of own everything in your bathroom, and then your skincare routine. And then obviously like our one of our best products ever is our laundry soap, which is a replacement to laundry detergent. It's a powder. And then it's literally the best stuff. I'll make sure to get y'all some, but it's like going more into the home care stuff. Like that's the kind of thinking that we're doing now, and the plans that we've put in action, again, like trying to contextualize that as much as possible to, can it be made in the store? I'm sure at some point we'll have to deviate from that, maybe. But like primarily it's like, let's try to do everything we can in the store to just own bathroom, laundry, and just like home care, like bathroom and home care.
Yep.
For the company in general, like 1,000 stores, 2025, in the United States, but like long-term goal, Toledo to Tokyo. Like we're going to be everywhere. globally. We're very like aggressive about, or very intentional, not aggressive, but intentional about trying to break into Asia and Europe. I'm really keen on trying to break into Africa. I just something about that continent that fascinates me, and I think that because of like how universally applicable our brand is, there'd be a lot of cool stuff we could do there. It's something that it's just kind of like a passion of mine. And then for me personally, like I'm trying to ride the soap game as high as I can go, and maybe buy some apartment complexes and self-storage units all along the way. But apart from that, just keep cranking in the soap game, build a really beautiful omni-channel experience. I mean, that's like the buzzword of the century right there, omni-channel. But like, I truly believe like giving customers the ability to, buy their stuff from anywhere, whether it's in store or online. And then on the back end, empowering our store operators, whether they're corporate stores or franchise store operators, like from a digital marketing perspective, like having access to the LTV data to make really great decisions, having access to the real-time, cross-selling, upselling decision systems to just like increase their revenues. Because like ultimately we are like the brand is supported by our stores. They always come first. And everything that I do, everything that we all do is to support the stores.
I love it, man. I wrote down selling suds with your buds.
There you go. There it is.
I love it, man. So where can people keep up with all things Buff City and all things Sanjay? What are our best destinations?
So for Buff City, buffcitysoap.com. Please get you some soap, as it were, and social media at Buff City Soap. If there is a Buff City Soap near you, they'll have their own local Instagram and Facebook pages. You can follow our corporate Buff City Soap on Twitter. And then if you want to hit me up, I'm pretty active on Twitter at Sanjay at Play is my Twitter handle. DM me, just message anytime. Happy to have a conversation with anybody.
Sweet, man. Sanjay, it's been a pleasure. Let's do it again, man. Let's follow up maybe beginning of the year. I want to see where all this growth is headed. And it seems like you said, I mean, you're fortunate. I believe people create their own fortunate. We're in a time where there's hypersensitivity to cleanliness and those kind of things, which is helping things. But it sounds like you guys are also kind of creating and generating your own path. So congrats to all you guys, and really appreciate you coming on the Radcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and then giving us an opportunity to share what we're building.
All right, guys. Thanks so much, man. We'll talk soon.